Wait to introduce you to my man. Let's go.
Good morning and welcome to hashtag Rise and Grind. I am your host, Glenn Lundy. I am a husband to one, a father to seven, and the creator of what is going to be the #1 most watched morning show in the world. It is 5:30 a.m. and I hope that you are ready to rise and grind.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you, my friend? How are you, my friend? Today is, oh my gosh, what is today? Today is Friday, September 6th, 2019. That's right. It's Friday, September 6th, 2019. And what's crazy, this is crazy. Today is the very first and the very last time it'll ever be Friday, September 6th, 2019. So let's make sure we make the absolute most of this absolutely incredible day. And that's what we're going to do. That's what we're going to do. We are going to make the absolute most of this incredible day today. I'm going to introduce you to my man, Pradeep Sangha. I hope, I think I said that right, but he might get on me when he gets on here. But I'm going to introduce you to him today. He's an incredible human being. I've been getting to know him a little bit more this morning. This dude's got a story very similar to mine, like rocked and rolled, killed it in the corporate world, and then was like, you know what? I got to make a move. I got to do something different. I'm called to more. I got to pour into my family a little bit more. I got to pour into my wife a little bit more. And he took the tie off. He made the leap, and he's got an incredible story to share with us this morning. So it's going to be amazing. But before we get into all of that, I got to tell you, man, the last 2 days at the Lundy house has been crazy. The last 2 days. So my wife was like, look, we are moving. We're getting the keys into the new house and we're moving. And I'm like, honey, we don't even have to be out of the old house for like 60 days. She's like, I don't care. I need my stuff. I need it in place. So for the last 2 days, these gentlemen right here with the company, Two Dudes in a Truck, I think it is, or Two Dudes Trucking or something like that. But these guys have spent the last 2 days packing up 4 truckloads of stuff. 4 complete full truckloads of stuff, getting us moved into the new house. And so it's been chaotic. We haven't slept much. Stuff has been all over the place. But I got to tell you, yesterday, when we sat in the house, we sat in the old house, we sat on the living room floor, and we kind of looked around as a family. And my kids, Meredith and Willow, were climbing on my neck, and Savannah was climbing all over my neck, being the silly Savannah that she is. She's our performance artist, right? Savannah was climbing all over. And of course, Joel, my handsome boy, he was helping all day yesterday, helping pack up all the different stuff and unload stuff. And at one point, my wife called me. I was over at the old house, and my wife called me from the new house, and she said, Glenn, she said, your grandpa and the kids, they're all down at the pond. They're fishing right now. She said, I'm just looking out at the sun. I'm looking at this 10 acres of land that we got. I'm watching these kids fish in the pond and the smiles on their faces while they're spending time with their grandfather. And she said, man, honey, we are blessed. We are blessed. I said, man, that's what it's all about. It's chaos, right? And we got to get through all this stuff. And there's literally stuff everywhere. We've had issues with the show. We had all kinds of stuff. But when you stop and take a moment and just really take a look at the beauty behind it all, it's like, man, what an incredible blessing it is for us to have this opportunity to offer this type of life to our kids. And these are not the things that I was able to do before. These are not things I was able to do when I was in corporate world, rock and rolling, putting in the 80-hour work weeks. Yes, I was making the money, but I didn't necessarily have the time to sit back and count all of the blessings that come along with spending time and raising our beautiful, beautiful family. So it's been absolutely crazy. And the man that we're going to talk with today, I'm sure he understands this completely because he too is a father. He's an entrepreneur. Like yesterday, the last couple days, I'm watching my team. My team's working in Group Me. They're doing all this stuff and I'm feeling like maybe I should be there and I should, instead of over here, and I'm doing the moving and I'm trying to run the job. And then I got my Rise and Grind group and I'm not necessarily hitting everybody back on the messages as fast as I would like. And all these things are going through my head. And my man Pradeep, he understands. I know that he understands. So I can't wait to bring him on. Before I do, though, you know what we got to do. That's right. You know what we got to do. For those of you that know, and those of you that don't know, this is the part of the show where I need you to hit that share button. That's right. I need you to hit that share button, because I believe if we can change the way people start their day, it'll make a massive impact on this planet. And sometimes all we got to do to change the way somebody starts their day is for you to hit that share button. This is also the part of the show where I want you to say good morning to me, and I'm going to say good morning to you. Whether you're watching live or you're watching on replay, say what's up. I'll say what's up back. Like my man Rick Tamburino. What's up, Terrell Lake? How you doing, Dana Fishbein and Cindy Conley? What's up, Nathaniel Banks and Roberta Rose Haycraft? Kurt Cahill's up in here. Robert Fuller's up in here. Laura Berman. Hi, Laura. It was so great to see you the other day. What's up, Janelle Griego? How you doing, Josh? Jeff Baker's up in here. Shauna Phillips is up in here. JJ Baines. Sarah Ball from all the way across the pond. We got Amy Myers and my man Archie K. What's up, Melvin Rodriguez? Mr. Brian Ben Stock. Congratulations on a record month over there at Paragon Honda. What's up, Gail B. Craft? And my girl Joanna Cooper Hamilton. Everybody's up in the house. Miss Liza Myers Fortune. It's always great to see you. Everybody's up in the house this morning. I love it. What's up, Don Sankey? Scott Pulver. My goodness, this place is packed this morning. Everybody wants to meet my man, Deep, and I'm about to bring him in right now. I do want to say something real quick. Thank you guys, all of you again. We have a big launch, as you know, coming out in 85 days. We're launching the next evolution for hashtag Rise and Grind. And you guys are such an incredible part of that. So I appreciate you. You've been inviting your friends to the group. We've picked up 694 new group members just in the last week, which is incredible. You've been sharing your testimonies with me and your stories from Rise and Grind, which I really appreciate. You've been posting every single day in the group. Make sure to keep that up. We need engagement. We need as many members as we can possibly get. And I need all the stories that I can get for how hashtag Rise and Grind has been affecting your life. And you guys have been delivering. I appreciate it. I truly do. We're going to have some giveaways coming up next week that you're going to love as my way of saying thank you for supporting Rise and Grind and supporting me. Now, with that said, Pardeep's like, bring me in here, coach. I'm ready to play. I'm going to introduce you to the founder of The Male Entrepreneur. He is an authority on self-mastery and an authority on business growth. Let me introduce you to my man, Pardeep Sangha. How you doing, Pardeep?
Hey man, Glenn, after that, I'm ready to rock, man. I love the morning. I love your morning show. I can see why people are up at 5:30 listening to you.
Well, thank you so much, man. I really, really appreciate that. We do. We totally love being in here. We jump in here. We do our thing. Speaking of morning routines, let's talk about yours real quick. That's the first thing I always like to know, because it seems to me, and we'll go into your backstory a little bit, but it seems to me like every successful person I know has a really strong morning routine. So I believe in it personally. What's your morning routine look like?
Yeah, it's interesting. So it depends on the day, because sometimes my kids are involved, sometimes they're not. But my typical morning routine is I get up. First thing I do is meditate, and then I read, and then I hit the gym. Those are the first three things that I do. And then when I come back from the gym, I set my day and my intentions in terms of what I need to get done and the outcomes that I want. So those are pretty much the four things that really get me going, get me really, jacked. I should be listening to this podcast as well, though. I think that might be something I'll add to the morning routine.
Hey, man, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's crazy. That falls in line. I actually wrote a really short book called The Morning Five. TheMorning5.com is where you get the book for free. And mind, body, spirit, right? That's what we got to take care of first thing in the morning, mind, body, spirit. So for you, it's meditate, take care of the physical. It's the exact same stuff. And I see it over and over and over again in successful people's patterns. If we take care of that mind, body, spirit first thing in the morning, it's just a game changer, right?
Exactly.
It's just a complete game changer. Awesome, man. Well, dude, like you had this big bad boy corporate job, right? And you and I are just now getting to know each other, so I'm super excited to have the rest of my friends, my morning friends, be able to get to know you as I get to know you. So you had this corporate job, from what I understand. You had, like, your background. You worked in orchards. You've always been a leader. You've always been able to manage and lead people. Here you were. You made it up the corporate ladder, and you're at the top. And you take off the tie and you throw it out. You're like, I can't do this anymore. What's up with that, man? Why'd you do that?
Yeah. Good question. So you could say, on paper, I had it all. I had, as you know, the corporate job, I had the money, traveling the world. I had, on paper, it would just seem like I had everything. And I had a beautiful wife, a young child. But honestly, I was just not happy. I was totally unfulfilled. I felt like it was an odd feeling, like I was making the corporate man rich. And I wasn't aligned with the values. There were times when I would go into the boardroom and we would have conversations, and I would just say, you know what, we talk a big game here, but we're not living it. And so I was just, you could say, totally unfulfilled in life. And part of me said, is this a life that I want to be living? Is this true to who I am, what I was meant to do? And you could say part of my destiny. So I literally just walked into work and quit. And everybody thought I was nuts. My wife is pretty much the only one that knew. I had a good conversation with her a couple of days before, and she looked in my eyes and she said, you know what, you're going to do this, aren't you? I said, yeah, there's just no other option. So my parents looked at me and said, what are you doing? You had it made, and my friends, they're just in shock. My brother's like, are you okay? But it's part of the journey, right? And it was probably the best thing. I know it's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's it's so crazy interesting. You and I are so very, very, very aligned, because I worked my way up in the auto industry to a very high position, and same thing. When I left, everyone thought I was nuts, except for my wife. She was the only one. She's like, I know what you're doing. But it's interesting. You said two things that I want to make sure people hear, because I like to always make it very, very clear that I don't suggest everybody throw out their corporate job. I'm not saying that everyone needs to own their own business. I'm not saying that that's what's for everyone. But you said two key words that I want to make sure people don't miss. One, you said you were unfulfilled. Two, you said you were not sure that the company aligned with your values. And I think that's super, super strong. And I think that that's where people really need to do the gut check, right? Like, are you fulfilled with your work? Or is the company that you work for aligned with your values? If those two things exist, rock and roll, man. Keep climbing the ladder. Make that money, right? Like, do the thing if you're fulfilled and everything's in line. But if it's not, you might want to take a little gut check and go, okay, what am I doing with what do they say? 60% of your life you're going to spend at work, right?
Exactly.
So you had that sense, not fulfilled completely. Beautiful wife, right? Beautiful wife. You've got the kid. You got the white picket fence. You're making all the money. You got all that good stuff, but no fulfillment here in the core, right? And not in line. And so you went out, and now you're kind of on your own. Right? You leave, you're on your own, you got a family to support. I do see that you're an author, you're a podcaster, you're a speaker, you're a mentor, you're a business strategist, right? You're doing all of these things. So how do you find the time to create and grow this business while still pouring into and holding on to those values of wanting to spend time with the kids and the wife?
Oh, well, for me, it perfectly aligns, because everything that I do is in alignment with my family and what my goal is as a dad, what my goal is as a man, as a father, as a husband. That's my goal, is to really help people. So everything that I do is in line with that. So from a values perspective, it's totally in sync. So all the stuff that I coach men on is exactly how I work with my family in terms of work-life balance, in terms of standing up to your values, having that identity that you want to have, and being able to create the freedom. Because ultimately, as men and as women too, we want to have the freedom to live the life that we want to live. And that's the ability to do what we want when we want. And so whether that's, in our job, we should, if we're working in a role in a career perspective or having a business, we should be doing what we want to do, what we enjoy doing. And that really comes back to the work that I do with men specifically, because a lot of us just go throughout life, and I've seen this, I saw this, and this with a lot of men that I work with. They work their entire lives completely unfulfilled, and when they're towards the tail end of it is when they really start to make changes.
Right.
But by that time, they feel like it's a little too late.
Yeah. I definitely feel you on that, right? It's like, oh my gosh, I should have done this so long ago. Why didn't I? And by then you're divorced, you're seeing your kids every other weekend, right? Your kids won't come visit you on the holidays anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, all of that stuff. And that's not a place that any of us want to be in. And now I want to put a disclosure out here real quick. If any of you guys have kids watching today, because I know some of you guys have kids watching in the car, so on and so forth, I'm going to ask my man Pradeep a little question real quick that might not be appropriate for children. So I'm just warning you right now. But Pradeep, you do work directly with men a lot. That's what you're an authority in. And I listened to one of your podcasts, and you had a podcast that was really interesting. You talked about how sex affects people's everything, right? It affects men's business and as entrepreneurs, and as even if they're working for somebody else, just their careers. And I wanted to dive into that a little bit. Like, what the heck does sex have to do with business?
Yeah, great question. So, let's talk about us as human beings. As human beings, we have specific needs. And if I work a lot on neuroscience, so that's my background, neuroscience, leadership psychology. So let's take a look at our physical bodies, who we are as human beings. We need to have sex because that sex brings out the good chemicals and the good hormones in our body. So for men, it's testosterone. For women, it's oxytocin. For men, that's oxytocin as well, but estrogen. So those hormones actually enable us to live healthier, happier lives. So that is absolutely important. What I see, though, is that in a lot of relationships, they're not having sex. They're not having sex on a regular basis, or they're not having good sex. And it just becomes a part of the routine. So this is what I've seen with a lot of people is they have a great career or they have a great business, but then they go home to a mundane life and a mundane relationship. And what ends up happening is that they are completely unfulfilled, and that has taken motivation away from them in their career or their business. So I'll give you an example here. There's this one gentleman that I was working with, very successful, and we originally started working together because he wanted to grow his business. But within a span of a couple of months, I realized that he had zero motivation. And when we got down to it, he had zero motivation because his relationship at home wasn't where he wanted it to be. So he had all the ability to grow his business and make more money, but he had zero motivation because from his perspective, and I had to pull this out of him. He didn't realize this, but he's like, what's the point of growing my business, making all this money and becoming super, super successful when I just go home and I don't have any sex with my wife? So it is a critical component for us as human beings. If we take a look at the way our brain is designed, Glenn, there's 7 main things that our brain is designed to do. One of them is to have sex. That is one of the main things. And it's designed to do that. If we deny ourselves that pleasure, that normal part of our human existence, then it takes away from our being as well.
Absolutely, man. It's enrooted. It's DNA, right? It's part of our core. And so for some of you out there, I know what some of these men right now are going, all right, I'm going to get my wife to watch this show this morning. I'm going to let her know, hey, honey, if we have more sex, I'm going to make more money. But really, you're right. It's that motivating factor. Like, we will move stronger, harder, faster for other people than we ever will for ourselves, right? Yep. Like, I will in response, if I've got to protect my child or if I've got to do something for my wife, I will go way harder. I will hold myself more accountable. I will not let go when it's for other people. Whereas I'll let myself down much easier, right? I can let myself down. And I think that's what that plays into, right? That's what you're saying is, if we have this strong relationship at home, we do have all of the parts of human species fulfillment being fulfilled, right? So we have the sex being fulfilled, we have the relationship being fulfilled, we have the intimacy, all of the different parts at home are being fulfilled, then we can perform at a higher level because we're motivated to win for them, right? That's really what it
Exactly.
comes down to. So it might sound selfish. Well, yeah, I need sex, but really, ultimately, it's about creating an environment where everybody can win and thrive. And I think that's an interesting key point that not enough people talk about. And I personally have experienced the difference between having a good relationship at home in my
Mhm.
career and having a bad relationship at home in my career. And I can tell you, man, it's night and day. Tell me a little bit about your family, your wife, your kids. What do those dynamics look like? How does that look in your house? How old are your kids?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two youngins. I have a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old. They're actually just still sleeping right now.
Right?
And I have a beautiful wife. We've been married for 8 years, and we've gone through our challenges as well. That's part of the reason why I made the shift at that time. Our relationship was suffering, but we've learned. And from a relationship standpoint, we are growing together significantly. I take her through, like, I have an intense self-improvement routine, and she's part of that. So we as a couple grow together, and we still have our tough times. In all honesty, we have our tough times because we have external pressures. We have the everyday challenges, just like every other couple. We have family members. We have in-laws. We have all of those pressures that are challenging us, and it's a great learning experience. So for me, it's great. You know, my biggest thing for my kids, I have a boy and a girl. My eldest is a boy, and so it's important for me. I think out of everything that my wife and I teach them is really to have a happy I'm not going to say successful, but a fulfilling relationship with their significant other, because that brings so much joy. As you mentioned, you know, I've been in a crappy relationship too. I've been in a great relationship, and so there's a massive difference in the quality of life. And you can have very little money in the world, but if you have that person with you that you just love to the moon and back, man, life can is still great.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely, man. Absolutely spot on. You you and I are going to get to know each other really well going forward. I already know this. I'm excited to spend some time with you on this show. However, we are on time constraints because we like to take care of and just honor people's time, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
I still have some questions. We may run a little bit over. Though Rick and Terry and Whitney and Vicky and the other like 80 something of you that are watching right now, I'm just letting you know now. We might run a little bit over because I want to ask a couple pretty serious questions. I want to get real deep. You use the words self mastery. And
Hmm.
you mentioned just now that with your wife, like you have a real regimented, kind of self development plan. You're pouring that into your children, which I do the same thing. But I want to, these words self mastery, I think some people throw it around. I think people hear it all the time and don't necessarily know exactly what that is. But you're an authority in this. So share
Hmm.
with me, what is that self mastery? What does that really mean?
Yeah, simply, it's the ability to master your thoughts, your emotions, and your life energy to get the results that you want out of life. That's simply put, because as human beings, we live and we experience life in three ways: we think, we feel, and we sense, which is our life energy. And a lot of people live out of sync in at least one of those areas. Their thoughts
Hmm.
are not aligned, or their
Hmm.
emotions are not aligned, and therefore their energy, their life energy, their sense is not aligned. So self mastery is aligning those three areas to really live in congruency with who you want to be and the life that you want to live. And I can tell you, once you're able to do that, because there's a system I use for that after studying it for 2 decades, is things become a lot easier. Not that you won't have challenges in your life, but the things that seemed hard before become easier. And then you are not only, it feels like you're being propelled towards the life that you want, but also that it's being attracted to you.
Hmm.
So it's no longer, it doesn't feel like you're pushing. I like to use the analogy of pushing a truck that's run out of gas up a hill. You know, you're in a truck full of gas and you're going down the hill and you're flying.
Right, right. Amen, man. I love that. And I love how simple You made that: thoughts, emotions, and self-energy, having those three things in line. And I totally get what you're saying. I too have been studying, and this used to be crazy, man. My thoughts used to be crazy. My actions used to be crazy because my thoughts were crazy, and my energy was ultimately crazy. And it seems like I continued to attract bad things. It was like, woe is me, everything bad happens to me. And once I was able to get a handle on that, get control of that, now I totally get it. Like, your analogy is spot on. I feel like now in my life, I attract great people like yourself, right? Like, opportunities tend to come to me. Yes, life still has challenges. Things are still, but it's just easier to get through those. They don't throw me off kilter anymore. And yeah, it's like cruising downhill with gas in the truck. It's the same truck. It's the same truck, right? You can either push it uphill with no gas, or you can fly downhill with gas and attract those opportunities. That's the simplest way I've ever had anybody put it. It's control over your thoughts, your emotions, and your self-energy, because as human beings, we think, we feel, and sense. That's awesome. I also want to dig in a little bit to the word mindfulness, because you use that word a lot. What does mindfulness mean?
Well, the traditional meaning of mindfulness is being aware, being intentional, and remembering to be aware, but also acceptance of your life. So a lot of us are not being mindful because we're always thinking about the past or the future. That's how a lot of people live in today's society, right? We got to get to work, especially this morning, right? We got to drop the kids off. We got to get to work. We got to be on time. There's a morning meeting or whatever it is. So being mindful of this present moment, because most people are trying to get rid of this present moment to get to the next moment. And then they'll continue to spend every hour like that, every day like that, and the rest of their lives like that. So mindfulness for me, my simple explanation is really living life to the fullest.
Yeah.
That in essence is what it is. But from a traditional standpoint, it's just being aware of this moment and living today as it is.
You know, I struggle with this, and I know a lot of people struggle with this, and I fall right in line. Like, we're constantly, I don't say I worry about the past, because I've done a really good job of whatever. I just kind of moved past all that. But I know a lot of people either spend their time worrying about what happened yesterday, or they're focused on what needs to get done tomorrow, which that's where I tend to fall in. I tend to, okay, what's next? What's next? Okay, what do I got to do? What I got to do? And not really enjoying this moment. It's like yesterday when my wife, called me. It's like the kids are out there fishing at the pond. Like, this is beautiful, right? Like right in the middle of the chaos. That's hard for me to kind of settle and just stay in that moment. Even sometimes in prayer, when I'm like deep in prayer, I'll be praying, and here's what I'm praying for, and gratitude, and so on and so forth. And then next thing you know, I'm thinking about the podcast, or I'm thinking about what book I need to write, or it's like total squirrel going on in here. How do I need help with that, man? How do I get better at being in the present moment?
So first of all is to understand, and I can share this from a scientific perspective from quantum mechanics, that there is no future. We have to understand that. The only time the future and the past exist is in our mind. All we have is a continuous moment of right now. So when you understand that, you realize, and here's an analogy for you, Glenn, or a question for you. Can you hit a baseball yesterday, or can you hit a baseball tomorrow?
No, sir.
No, you cannot. You can't even hit a baseball this afternoon. The reason why that's so important is because when you realize that the only moment that you have impact is right now, that's the only time you have true power. The only time you can utilize your energy is right now. And when you're thinking about the past, or you're thinking about the future, and we can show this from a neuroscience perspective, you're actually diluting your energy from this moment right now. So understanding that is most important, because as go-getters, we want to have the biggest impact, but your only impact is at this moment. So be aware of that. So the traditional step for mindfulness, I'll tell you this, is you talked about prayer. That's great. Meditation is important because that's shown to change the structure of your brain, the neuroplasticity. Here's the thing. It's continuous awareness. And you said your thoughts stray. That's normal. 47% of the time, our thoughts stray. The key thing to remember is being intentional and being aware and remembering to pull those thoughts in.
Gotcha.
So when you have those thoughts, it's like, okay, I thought about tomorrow when I shouldn't have, or I didn't need to. Let's just bring it back to the current moment. So that is very important. The other thing I'm going to say, and I say this very openly and very strongly to everybody, and because there's science that's backed it up now, multitasking kills your brain. It actually destroys the neural pathways in your brain. So a lot of times when we're doing all these things here, that actually creates the pattern, the very pattern that we're trying to get rid of. So I tell people to stop multitasking, because now it's actually proven. They can show the brain scans to show the impact of what it does.
Incredible stuff, man. Incredible stuff. And thank you that already. And I do that. I'm aware, and then I like shift it back, and I'm aware, and I shift it back. So I guess I'm doing good in that area. And I want everyone to know that you're not just talking, out of the side of your cheek. You went to school, was it Stanford or Harvard?
Yeah, I've been to Stanford, MIT. I've been to, so you can say academics was a big path of mine throughout life.
You're a smart guy. You can tell by the way you talk, and I want everyone to know he's got the accolades to back it up. Like, this guy knows exactly what it's talking about. That's powerful stuff. I need to get better in the meditation area. I do spend time in prayer. I spend time in thought. I've always been kind of intrigued about like yoga and meditation, but I haven't been able to get it into my routine yet, but I'm going to work on that. But we're gonna have to get out of here because we're running a little bit over. But before we do, I want to do something with you real quick, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to put you on top of a mountain. Okay. You're on top of a mountain all the way up there at the top. All of civilization, literally everyone, is down at the bottom, and they're like chanting, "Purdy, purdy, purdy, purdy." They're chanting, right? And they've given you the mic, and you have 2 minutes. You have 2 minutes to drop something on them, some type of powerful wisdom that's going to move them. It's going to affect their lives today, this week, this month, this year, something practical application they can apply in their life that's going to make a change forever. What are you going to tell them?
Yeah, well, that's a loaded question. So I love that you asked that, though. That'd be a cool situation. So first of all, and I think this is most important thing, is to realize that we only live this life once. So you may believe in reincarnation or karma, but in this form, as who we are today, we only live this life once. So I'm a firm believer that you need and you should and you can live it to the fullest and give it every single thing you got. You got one shot at this. Second is that we work backwards in life, and the thing to really get on track is focus on your emotions first and then build your life around the emotions. So what kind of life do you want to live when it comes to your daily emotions? So pick the top 3 to 5 emotions that you want to feel on a consistent basis, then figure out what kind of lifestyle will support those emotions, and then figure out the career or the business that it will take to create that lifestyle. Most people go straight into the career and then they figure out it's not in alignment with their emotions. The quality of your life is dependent on your emotional state. That's what you should be aiming for, is what emotions do I want to feel, whether that's joy or fulfillment or inner peace. That should be your goal. And when you work backwards from that perspective, I can promise you anything, your life will be more fulfilling, but you will have more success as well. The third thing I would say is that time is not your most important asset. You'll hear that a lot. It's not. Your most important asset is your life energy, because you can have a spare hour, but if you don't have the energy to utilize that effectively, you're not going to get what you want out of that hour. So your most important thing, and when you focus on your life energy, you will feel more alive. Your body will actually heal itself better. When you're cognizant of that, then your life will take a completely different turn, and you're going to be living life at a completely new level. So those are the 3 things I would say.
Well, just just a couple small things to think about this morning as you're going out to attack your day. Dude, that's powerful stuff. I love it. We only live once. I never have heard anybody tell me to put my emotions first and build my life around it. But it totally makes sense, because that's what I'm doing now. That's the life I live right now, as I search what makes me feel amazing, and I try to build that and use that to impact other people's lives. And that is absolutely an incredible way to put it. And the most important asset is energy. And you all know I'm a huge fan of that. I'm in full agreement. We got to have the energy to rock and roll, which is why we attack the mornings the way that we do, so that we can go out there and have energy all day long. Pradeep, dude, what an honor to meet you. I appreciate you so much for being on this show this morning. It's incredible. I want everyone that's watching to not only jump on and follow Pradeep, which I know they're all going to go do right now. I want you to jump on and follow, but I also, the best way that we can honor him is by hitting that share button. If you haven't shared this episode already, you need to go ahead and do that now. Let's get this out into the world so more people can meet my man Pradeep. Pradeep, where do you want him to go to follow you?
Yeah, simply Pradeep Sangha.
Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Nice and easy, right?
Yeah. And thank you so much, Glenn. I totally appreciate this opportunity. Thanks for waking me up, man. I'm ready to rock now.
That's awesome, man. Here, do me a favor. Hang out in the green room for just one more second. I'm going to pop out and send these guys off for their day, if you don't mind. I'm going to go ahead.
Absolutely.
Maybe I can do this. They all know I'm technologically challenged, but I'm going to pop up back on here. Hey, that was my man, Pradeep. Wow. Lots to think about. I've got a full page of notes, and that's one of the hardest things as the host is I'm trying to interview these incredible guests, and then I'm trying to take notes at the same time. So I'm going to go back and watch it again to make sure that I didn't miss anything, because there was a ton of firepower in that episode of hashtag Rise and Grind. Listen, go out this weekend. I want you to go out and have an incredible weekend, okay? I need you to go out. I need you to have an incredible weekend. I want you to rock and roll. It's supposed to be like a little bit cooler. We're kind of shifting into fall. I want you to be in the moment. Like Pradeep said, man, let's enjoy the moments this weekend. Let's stay aware of where we're at and how we feel, right? And let's maximize that. Hey, and while you're at it, if you're married, go out there and have a lot of sex, man. Just saying. Like, the wife, the hubby, whatever, let them know. It's a good thing. It's healthy. It's natural. It's good. We need it, right? So go out and do that. But most importantly, I want to remind you guys of one thing. Pradeep, I want to remind you of this as well. You are a child of God, uniquely made by the God of the universe, the God that made everything, made you to be the absolute best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And you guys are out there doing it. I know you're making good decisions. You're waking up early. You're leaning in. You're encouraging other people. You're lifting other people up. You're learning more about yourself and your energy and getting in tune. I know you're doing all of these things. And by doing these things, I want you to know they may seem small, but they're actually making a massive impact. They're making an impact on your friends, on your family members, on your coworkers, and you've made a massive impact on me. And I, for one, absolutely stinking love you for it. I do. I absolutely love you. If nobody's told you that yet today, I want to be the first. Go out there, have an incredible day. If you need more videos, go to GlennLundy.com. If you need some Rise and Grind gear, you can go to GlennLundy.com. And most importantly, I'll see you back here on Monday morning. Next Monday, we're going to do this all over again on hashtag Rise and Grind.